when it's ready.
Okay, got it.
Hello and welcome to our very first episode of Rach and Fi Unplugged. And I would like to introduce myself. I am Rachel Huntley and this is...
I'm Fiona Garment.
Yay! So where do we start, Fiona? Where would you like to start with our story?
Well, I think, should we so the other day I said to Rach and I have both had this energy that we need to be seen. And I think that's I can speak for myself with this. It's been like a big fear about being seen and putting myself out there. And I've made things and then haven't put them online. Just that fear of being seen has been such a huge, like a stopping point for myself. So I said to Rach the other day, Rach, we really need to do something like this. And I think it's beautiful that we're doing it together. And Rach and I have all these amazing conversations most days of the week. So we're like, let's do something with this.
And so Fiona has always been pushing me. I used to do community radio and Fiona was like, you need to do a podcast. However, you know, we both need to be visible and we need to be in our authenticity as well. So our story started in, what was it, 2008? Yes, so 2008. I went back into the workforce when my youngest child at that time started school. And then, what was it, 6 months later, Fiona started in this workplace as well. So that's how Fiona and I met. I had seen you around. Our kids went to different schools, so we were never in each other's world really.
No, like we had crossed paths and known of each other, but there was really, our children, and even our children similar age, they were different years. So we really hadn't met before that, probably.
So this began my journey. So that I would have been early 30s, so 34, I think, at that time. And this woman here that I'm with today, Fiona, just opened me up to a world of spirituality. And I had felt like I'd been hiding under a rock all my life. I'm like, where have I been? How do I not know about this stuff? Like, you know, angel cards, crystals, Reiki. Thank goodness for Reiki with all our soccer injuries. But all these metaphysical things, and I had no knowledge of them. I was just like, this is basically when my veil was lifted, and Fiona facilitated that for me. So I'm forever grateful that Fiona was in my world at that time.
Oh, and I was just like so happy to find someone that I could share it all with and talk, because I could talk about this stuff for days on end. And we do, Rach, don't we? But for me, it's like, it's always been from a little child, it's been a massive part of my world. Like even mum sold real estate when I was a little child. So she said that I would go on her shoulders and comment on the energy of the houses and astrology and numerology. And, you know, I wasn't a big reader as a child, but I think the first paperback I ever read was a book called Near-Death Experiences or Life After Life. So this has always been a massive part of an interest for me, which I think probably goes back to other lifetimes.
Billion%.
And obviously, I think for you as well, but you just needed to find it at a different stage in your life.
Yes, and I need to be woke. Like I needed someone to wake me up to all these things that were around and the possibilities that they had for me. So that was our first relationship, I suppose, was working together and moving forward from that. So it was funny because Fiona would share all these amazing things with me. And in doing my job, I would actually go around and tell all my clients about it because I'm like, this is so exciting. Everyone needs to know about it. And poor Fiona's like, oh, Rachel, you can't tell everyone. Like, you know, it's like this type of thing. And and obviously the more we've gone through our journey, we now understand that that is our witch wound. So because you were so aware of it for so long, you had had a different experience with how people perceived it.
And I think there was that overlay of religion as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was just this deep fear that you had to be careful where you shared the information. It was only done quietly. You kept it very private to yourself. And I remember calling you into the meeting room going, Rachel, like you need to be careful who you share this with. And you were like, hell no, I'm sharing it with everyone. And you really did. And it was crazy because you just started connecting with everyone about it. It's like that. So human design, should we just quickly touch on that?
Yeah,
Human
definitely.
design? Yeah. So Rachel's a 2/4 generator with the cross of service.
Yep.
And I'm a 6/3 manifesting generator with the cross of uncertainty. So Rachel's like being the 2/4, she just always connects with people, and you just seem to bring all these people to yourself, and they just added to your journey. It was so interesting. And now knowing your human design, it all makes like perfect sense how that all unfolded for you. It was crazy.
It was crazy. And it was like, but you being what was your profile again?
6/3.
The 6/3. So as a 6, being the role model, you were role modeling all these different things to me. And but my philosophy was always, I'm going to share everything I know and I'm learning to people, because this stuff is this like, game changing. And if it's not for them, then that's okay. But at least they've been introduced to it. I've planted a seed or what have you. Or we can have this really amazing conversation if they're aligned. So to me, it wasn't scary. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving forward, so we both went in different directions, because Fiona then moved and you started studying, didn't you? So you did a uni degree.
Yeah, so I moved to like a remote country town, and I shut everything down for about 10 years, like completely shut it down. Went very much more into my career, study. Yeah, didn't talk about it. Like as much as I kept it quiet when we were working together, I like really shut the door on it. And even like privately I did too as well. So and went in a different direction, where yourself, you just like took the lid right off.
I did. I left work to have a baby, and that was then the opportunity for me to really create a life that I wanted, and then that took me down the road of all these things, spiritual and unique. Like I studied scientific hand analysis, and I don't know. I just trusted my intuition. I trusted my intuition to guide me to that next step. I didn't know how it was going to unfold, but I just did the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And here we are today.
And then I guess to bring us back to like current times, was it the end of 2021 where you introduced me back into human design? And I was going through some shuffling around and some changes with that. And it was just like, it was the thing that really reopened the lid on my spirituality again, the human design. And with that, I found the tarot, which is like, the tarot is the pathway to self-awareness, as far as like, that's my belief. Which is something that I always thought was a little bit scary or dark, but now working with it, it's just the most incredible system to tap into that unconscious and get those really clear guided messages.
Oh my God, I was so scared of the tarot, and you've always had that fear around the death card, like die type of thing. But in all of our learnings and awareness that we've had, especially around the tarot, and you're studying it, then that just ripples onto me, because I'm like, hey, we have to sort of understand what each other's talking about. It's that, that negative image we had of tarot was really about controlling that divine feminine, because that the women were always the ones who were, with the oracles. So that divine feminine, that was just another way to suppress it. And that's my thing, is empowering women.
Absolutely. And this is empowering because we all need to tap into our inner. We don't need to look out there for our power. It's all lies within us. And that's where we don't necessarily need the tools to tap in, but when we've been looking outside ourselves for so long, we need these tools to really reconnect with ourselves again. And that's reconnect to our knowing. Because
definitely. So this is how this has all come about. We have these amazing conversations almost daily.
So woo. We go very woo.
We do. We go very woo. And because we are both, like Fiona is a manifesting generator profile in human design, and I'm a generator, we respond to stuff. So, if I've listened to a podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I've got to tell Fiona about this. And then she'll listen to it, and then we'll come back and discuss it. So, we're always just responding to things and just unpacking how it affected us, or, what we got from it. And, quite often you'll say something, I go, oh, I don't remember that being on that podcast. Or I'll say, oh my God, this part here. And you're like, I don't remember that. So we just all pick up on different stuff. And when you have, like-minded people and you're sharing, you get it so much. I don't know, you just receive it in such a stronger way, I suppose.
I feel like you embody it. It's like, you get it on an intellectual level, but when we talk about it, we dissect it. It's almost like you embody that information, that knowing. And I just wanted to touch on that, Rach, like, you'll hear something, I'll hear something, but there's been these crazy synchronicities that we've been experiencing. Yeah. And it feels like it's amped up for me since the end of May, where I'll have, like, I don't know what you want to call it, whether it's a download of information or a shift in awareness, and then of all this information just kind of dropping in.
Yep.
And then I'll hear something on Instagram and it's like, oh my gosh, that's exactly that thing. And then I'll have a conversation, and then I'll have a conversation with you, and you're like, oh, you know what? I've been thinking about X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like we're having these downloads of information at the same time, like really tapping into the collective energy of this. And we are evolving and changing, and we can all feel that in our physical bodies. So, the synchronicities have just been. What are your thoughts on that, Rach?
Oh, they're there all the time. The synchronicities are definitely there. And not only do I do scientific hand analysis, but I create candles. And so the synchronicities for me are, I get I get an idea for a candle, like a message. So I so didn't want to make candles. I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. But it was bigger than me. It was just...
The universe had other ideas for you.
The universe had other ideas. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm creating candles, they're not just going to be a candle. They're going to have a message or an intention behind them. And, sometimes these messages come through, quite a couple at a time. Sometimes they're slow to drop in, and they'll drop elements of the candle to me. So, all the candles that I create have got that intention or message that the collective, and I know that, the collective need to hear or are wanting to know more about. So I don't question that anymore. I'm just like, okay, so I started with one candle, and now we've got this.
How many have you got in your range now? It's like,
over 20.
Another bloody candle, right?
There's over 20 candles in the range now, and they're all different. Some are a practical approach to things, some are really metaphysical, some are educational. It's just...
Do you know what I have to say about this, like with your candle creation? And I know we talk about every time there's a new candle, you're like, this is the energy of it, but I don't know what it looks like. I'm thinking that this is it. I love the fact that you don't try and control it with your mind. It's like, you're just like, you know what? It's because what was the last one? The Goddess Wisdom?
Yes, Goddess Wisdom.
And it took it took quite a few weeks for all of
It
the
took months. It
information.
actually took months for
Yeah.
all the information to fall in, because the scent was delivered to me with a dream, as a dream, and I got the scent.
Oh, that's right.
I got the vision of a woman kneeling by a stream or a river, and it wasn't it was quite biblical times because of the way she was dressed. It was, like almost like the river of Babylon, because it had the reeds and that type of thing. So that was the vision I had in the dream, but I remembered it so clearly. It wasn't like something that came and went. It stayed, and I'm like, okay. And the scent was delivered to me, which was pomegranate. Okay, and pomegranate is such a the scent is all about, it's such a feminine, divine feminine scent, because it's about initiation, but it's about all the things, we as women talk about and experience, which is life, death, love,
fertility, creativity,
all of that, and that's the meaning of the pomegranate. So so then for that to evolve, I'm like, okay, that was the image, that was the scent. And, I had to keep having conversations with people. I'm like, what is this trying to tell me? And I had I had this conversation with a friend of mine. I'm like, I don't know what this means, seriously. And then she said to me, oh, what you've just described sounds to me like have you read the book, The Red Tent? And I'm like, no. She said, I think you need to read that book. And I'm like, okay, I'll grab the book. So I got the book, and not even, we were into the first few pages and it mentions pomegranate. I'm like, seriously? I'm like, okay, so I'm on the right track here. So just all the elements then dropped in like that. So the intention about us, tapping into our goddess wisdom, which is, the information that's been passed on from all the women who have come before us, it's stored within our DNA, in our cellular being, but we just need to tap in and listen to that.
And you know what just popped in for me is all the stuff that we've been taught as women to reject.
That's
it's
right.
all within that wisdom. Probably for another conversation, that one.
Exactly. So, the things that the people we are and how we show up in our life are the things that we've taken on and just gone, okay, this is part of who I am. And I really wanted to fight being a candle maker, because there were so many people creating candles, and I'm like, yeah, it has to be different for me. And there's always that energy and intention. So moving back to Fiona and her journey of recent times, she mentioned the tarot and human design, and Fiona brings those two learnings, oracles. I don't know what you would sort of.
They're so complementary, aren't they?
They
really?
are, yeah.
Like, I remember, so I think you initially introduced me to human design when we were working together back in probably 2010 or something like that. And I remember looking at the chart and going, oh, that's just too weird, Rachel. Like, which is really strange, because I do usually jump on anything like that, but it just didn't sing to me then.
Actually, 2017, when I went to America to attend a hand event, my mentor, who I studied hands under, was actually just going into the human design then, and she gave us a little bit of information, and I came back to Australia, and I'm telling you all about this event.
Was that in 2010? I thought it was like earlier. I thought
no, 2017. So so I came back and I'm telling you all about this stuff, and you're like, oh, that sounds really interesting. And I'm like, I've just committed to and investing in learning all about hands. I'm not going sidetracking now. But it actually sparked your curiosity right back then.
Yeah, I thought it was earlier than that, but
no.
Yeah. But
it was 2017.
I tell you what, they do say with human design, there has to be a level of maturity or a level of readiness to understand it. And as a 6'3" who is constantly like, we are quite messy, we're always jumping into different experiences, and we're meant to have the experiences before we have our Chiron return at around the age of 50, because that's when you become the role model. So we are meant to have all these experiences, and I really don't think I'd be ready for it. But oh my gosh, Rach, like learning human design was the biggest. I realized everything I was rejecting about myself was the way I was designed to perfectly be. Like, you know, I'm trying to be normal, not designed to be normal, like designed to be very individual and different and like think very differently, and which is part of the 6th line as well. So all the stuff. And it just gives you such a permission slip to be yourself. And I don't know about you, Rach, but when you look at your human design, it just resonates so deeply. It's this knowing that I don't know. Is that how you experienced it as well?
Well, it just gives you really intricate information about yourself. So for me, the hands delivered me that information. You know, I felt seen. I felt for the first time, even learning that within the hands, I was in School of Love and Service, and I'm like, so love is all about relationships, and service is all about empowerment. Okay, so it's not about just serving people, but it's educating people so that they can empower themselves. And when I was working, in the position in the job we were in together, and, I was me, 100%. I was me to my customers, and I was 100% me to, so I would go into their life, and I would bring my life with it. And then I would be told that's really unprofessional because, this personal life and that professional life need to be separate. But I've never, ever been able to do that. And I've always felt really bad about that because it's like, oh, here I am being really unprofessional. However, by being me was how I really built those relationships. Those relationships were really loyal to me because...
Yeah, and other 2-4s say the same thing. Like there's another 2-4 that I know that's just made similar thing, like that line between work and friendship. It's kind of...
It's like those who work with me become my friends.
Yes.
They may find me through work, and that's how we first meet, and that's how we first come about. But once you're in my world, you are my friend, and we are friends, and we can have, beautiful conversations, and I will always support you in whatever it is you want to do moving forward, type of thing. So it's like I had to get really comfortable with being okay with that, because for all my life I'd been told that that was not okay. But for some people, it's not okay. That's not how they're designed. But for me to know that that's how I am, that's game changing.
And you know what? It's such a simple thing, isn't it? Like but as you said, it's game changing. Why would you reject that about yourself? Or all the conditioning that's not how you should be. You need to be in this little mold. Well, no, you don't. You just need to be you. That's who you need to be, Rach.
The thing is, though, as women, most of us don't know who we are because,
100%.
we're such nurturers that, our priority is that everyone else comes first. Therefore, we lose a bit of ourselves as the years go by. And then, you get to a point where I did when I left my marriage, was like, I can be who I want to be. I can do what I want to do. And then I'm like, oh my God.
Who is that?
Yeah. How do I find that? How do I tap into that? So that actually started my journey of self-discovery and looking for the answers. And that's where I found hand analysis. And so hand analysis was my human design. It was the thing that just went, oh my God, it has so much information. And it really brought me back to who I was, and I could let go of all the other stuff that wasn't me. Now, when I was introduced to human design just it just validated the information I already knew, but it also then was able to help me with the intricacies of things. So, the hand analysis was like that introduction and the big overarching theme of things. Like, we find out our life purpose, we find out our schools, even gift markings and our life lesson. So all these things, okay, these are big areas of our life. Whereas the human design brings in all these little intricacies, and this is how you do this, and this is how you do that. but a lot of it is overlapping, you know.
All these systems
Yeah.
seem to overlap, whether it's human design, hand, but they all add another layer.
Billion% they do. Yeah.
It's like human design and astrology. Human design doesn't talk about personality. It's more around the energy. Whereas astrology, you can really delve into someone's personality when you know what their sun sign and like how they're all aspected with each other. It gives you a pretty clear picture of people's internal drivers more so than human design. Oh, well, I believe that's how I see it. So other people might.
And going back to the really early days, so Fiona was always my go-to person about astrology because she, had studied astrology to a certain degree and also numerology. So,
oh my gosh, love numerology.
So these were Fi's little areas of knowledge, and so it was like I didn't need to learn those things because I already had someone who knew all about that. That was, you were my go-to, my guru about those things. And, so the information and our interests go a little bit in different directions, but they all come back to the same stuff. So
energetically, they're so like, I know my purpose in life is initiating people into their own power, and so is yours, and particularly women. I want to work with women, and that's, and your energy is the same, Rach.
Yeah, I'm all about empowering women, to taking them from that victim mentality into, that empowered version of themselves. And it's like, it's just a mind shift. It's not really a physical change. It's just a change in perception.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is. And it's about women not giving their power away, or not, giving away the people pleasing. And you know what? Learning to say no.
Yeah.
Like learning to be comfortable with saying no. And when you're talking about like your relationships with your people you worked with and how they became friends, something that I always felt a bit wrong about was I would go out and work and be with people all day and talk. But then I just wanted to retreat at the end of the day. And I didn't, like, once I was home, I didn't want to go out. I didn't really want to socialize. I'd done my thing. I just needed to retreat. And I always felt wrong for that, for not being more social or just wanting time on my own or just time with my family. And I'm like, what's wrong with that? But for some reason, that was something I always felt wrong or shame about, that I should be more.
I know.
There's so many shoulds as women. And now it's just like owning it all. No, I just like time on my own. Do I want to go out? No, I just want to sit home with my family with a granny rug on my knee and my cat. Or, yes, I do want to go out, and I do feel like doing it. And really listening to our authority in human design, which mine's sacral, which gives me a clear yes and a no. And anyway, that's probably a conversation where Rachel really has to feel into things and before she can make her.
I have emotional authority. I still have sacral, but I have emotional where I just need to digest stuff and just see how it feels for me, and then come back and have that conversation. But really interesting where you're saying how, you were all peopled out and then you just needed to retreat. That was something that I was never conscious of for myself. Okay. I felt it. But I was never conscious of needing that time out.
Oh,
yeah.
I know where you're going.
So the thing is, the more information we know about ourselves and that feels right and true, there's some information that you'll get and you go, yeah, that doesn't quite fit for me. And that's okay. Just let that go. That doesn't need don't need to worry yourself about having every aspect feel right. But it's like when you learn these things about yourselves, then you can actually put up those boundaries that support that for you. So for you, for me learning that, I need time out. I'm a hermit. I'm a social hermit, but I need that time to myself. And I get really resentful when there's people in my energy field. It really does. Like, even if they're asleep and I'm here and they shouldn't be here, or, oh my God, it riles me. It really does. But I know that about myself. And it's like, I just need a lot of time out to be creative, to do my own thing, but that it's really important that I don't have other energy seeping into me either, because it really does affect my flow.
And the hard thing with the 2-line too, Rach, is as much as you just want to get in your little creative corner and cocoon, people are always going to be calling you out. So it's about you putting those strict boundaries in place and making sure you do have that time. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It could just be an hour here and there.
Yeah, that's right. But it's one of those things. But once you know that about yourself, this was my this is what I was getting to before. So once we know this about ourselves, that's when we can actually implement those boundaries. But if we don't know that, and it's hard to implement the boundaries and stick to them. But when we know these about ourselves, we can implement the boundaries. And then when people don't respect that, we can go, okay, then you're not respecting me as a person, and maybe you're not my person, or maybe, you know, our friendship, our relationship, whatever, isn't going to work. And that's coming from someone who, you know, was in a controlled relationship.
Yeah, and it's funny, you get in, I think the more aligned you become, energetically people do fall away.
Yeah.
Because you're just not an energetic match anymore. So that does happen. People do fall away. Sometimes people come back, but
yeah.
You know, because people, you know, particularly if you've been that yes person, people don't like it if you all of a sudden start putting those boundaries in place. Then you may be called selfish or, you know, all those sorts of things. But it's really important that you honor your truth and honor who you are. And the more you do that, the less you give your power away.
The more you can do that, knowing that that's who you are and you're not selfish and you're not this and you're not that, then you know, the stronger you are in your resolve. And that's where it comes into that empowerment and that consciousness of, you know what, this isn't working for me, and I'm not going to keep putting myself in that situation. So
and you start,
victim all the time, that's that consciousness and empowerment comes with that information.
Yeah. So, and living in alignment, and then you start making choices differently and living differently, and listening to that inner knowing and following your higher self, and all sorts of things open up and paths open up. I'd never thought I'd be doing tarot readings. Like, it's just things change and shift, and it's exciting to watch how it all unfolds.
$1,000,000,000%. And you know what? It's usually even more magical than you could have ever imagined it to be, because we would never have allowed ourselves to do these amazing things, you know, coming from a different mindset. So maybe we call it a day here, and that's your little introduction to both Fiona and myself. Now, Fiona, if I or someone out there wanted to have a tarot reading or learn a little bit more about the human design from you, how do we get in touch with you?
So you can make an appointment with a link in my bio on Insta, or shoot me a message and we can have a chat if you would like to know a little bit more about what I'm offering. So,
and on Instagram, are you just under Fiona Garment?
Yes, just Fiona Garment. Keep it nice and simple.
Awesome. And if anyone's interested in finding out about my hand analysis or candles, you will find me on my website of www.rachelhuntley.com.au. And I would love to connect with you. And I'm excited to start this journey with not only Fiona, but with everyone out there, and see what unplugged conversations we can have moving forward.
I'm looking forward to it. Yes. And likewise.
All right. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.